What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Vincent Esposito, and today we're going to be talking about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But before we get to that, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out videos once or twice a week, so if you like this information after you listen, really appreciate that going forward. So first, let's start off with what is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So fatty liver disease is kind of what its name says it is. It refers to a bunch of different situations where the end result is fat tissue deposited in the liver. Now, fatty liver is actually more common than you might think. It's estimated somewhere between 30 and 40% of all Americans have fatty liver disease. And if you think it's just adults, think again, because now it's estimated about 1 in 10 children have fatty liver disease. Now, if fatty liver is not addressed over time, it could actually lead to a more serious form known as non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, also known as NASH, and that could eventually lead to liver cirrhosis. Now, one of the really cool things about the liver is it's actually able to regenerate and heal itself, but if it gets to the point where it's cirrhosed or essentially scarred over, that scar tissue is no longer functioning and also no longer able to regenerate. So that is why once that liver begins to cirrhose, that's what leads to you ending up on a liver transplant list. And that is why fatty liver disease is the major cause of all liver transplants today, at least here in the States. So you might think that talking about fatty liver and kind of all this going on, that the real culprit here is fat, right? Well, usually it's actually carbohydrates. So that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but let's go over why. So what happens is when we're eating kind of all this high fructose corn syrup and simple carbs, this is going to raise glucose levels, and it's also, we have to use this food in some way, but the excess food we don't use for energy ends up going to the liver to get converted to fat. So when we're consuming simple carbs for a long period of time, right, that's going to lead to elevated glucose levels for kind of a long period. And these extra glucose molecules need to go somewhere. So they end up going to the liver to get converted into fatty acids and triglycerides, and they need places to go. And some of these end up staying in the liver and getting deposited in the liver, hence the name fatty liver. To kind of heighten that point, if type 2 diabetics are 40 to 80% more likely to have fatty liver disease than their normal counterparts. So that means things like insulin resistance, things like metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, they're all closely connected to fatty liver disease. So the question is, how do we fix it before it gets to the point where our liver starts scarring over and then we don't have a chance, we can't come back from it? Well, it's actually really, really simple, and I kind of hinted on it before. It's really more about what you remove. So we want to be removing the simple carbohydrates, the high fructose corn syrup, the starches, the processed foods, and things of that nature. And you also want to get rid of the vegetable oils. You want to stick to healthier oils like olive oil or avocado oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter and ghee is great too. You want to avoid things like soybean oil or canola oil or rapeseed oil and those other vegetable oils, because they're going to have a negative impact on the liver as well. Now, in terms of things you might want to add or start eating that you might not have before, you want to start eating foods that contain sulfur or sulfur-containing compounds. So we're talking about things like cabbage, like onions, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts. The reason being is sulfur is actually needed for detoxification pathways, and the liver's main job is to detoxify, well, the toxins that come into our body. So giving our liver the support it needs will help increase your chances of getting rid of fatty liver going forward as well. Other things that are really helpful are getting on an exercise regimen. If you haven't to this point, exercise is a really great way to improve insulin resistance. And also, if you're smoking, it would be very wise to cede that as quickly as possible. Another food source you might want to consider adding are foods high in omega-3s. So things like fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, certain nuts and seeds, things like chia seeds or flax seeds, are high in omega-3 content. And generally, if you have this profile of non-alcoholic fatty liver, chances are that there is some sort of insulin resistance or metabolic issues going on, especially when it comes to glucose. So getting those fatty acid profiles kind of equaled out will help. In terms of supplements, supplements aren't the first thing I would go to, but if you're looking for that kind of extra boost to help kind of hasten the process, there are a couple you can consider. One would be those omega-3 fatty acids. Another would be some antioxidants. So we're looking at things like vitamins A, C, and E, zinc, selenium, ideally in some sort of combination form. They tend to work best. Things like silymarin or milk thistle improve liver function. So giving that the boost it needs will be of great help as well. And those are kind of the basics when it comes to dealing with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Again, it's really key to get ahead of it in the beginning because, again, it is reversible. And a lot of these factors that play a role are in our control. Again, most of this stuff are things we eat. So getting rid of those things we talked about and replacing them with other foods like the cruciferous vegetables, foods high in omega-3s, things of that nature, are going to make a huge, huge difference going forward. And you can reverse it before it gets to the point where you don't have a choice but to end up on a transplant list. That's all the information we have for today, everyone. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions or you liked today's video, please like and subscribe below. Again, I'm coming out with these videos twice a week. And I want to keep the conversation going and engage with you guys. So if you put comments down below, I'll be sure to get to them as fast as I can. But until next time, have a great day.